Good morning, Tampa Bay. This is John Dingfelder, and you're listening to Down and Dirty on WMNF. And we are thrilled to be here this morning. I am tickled to have my lovely bride.
Tickled?
I'm tickled.
Thank you, hon.
My lovely bride, Lynn Marvin Dingfelder, who...
Your loyal sidekick?
I doubt that. Anyway, many of you know Lynn in numerous capacities. You might have known her as Lynn Marvin back in the day when she was at Channel 10, and then Big 13 as a television reporter.
Big 13, where news comes first.
There you go. And in more recent years, as a television producer and local documentarian. Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning, sweetheart. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited about today, but first I think we need to say thank you to your guest host last week who subbed for us while we were away on vacation.
Absolutely. Allison Hewitt, a shout out to you and your radio partner last week. You guys did a great job. Thank you
for doing that, Allison. And it sounded great.
We appreciate it. We've got Skip here on the board. Good morning, Skip.
Good morning, John.
And Irene is back there waiting to answer your calls. And we will take your calls today at 813-239-9663. I think I sound a little froggy today, don't I, honey?
Yeah, it's a little froggy,
Yeah, we did a little traveling, and I think I brought something back. But anyway.
Oh, great. Nice, thank you.
It's not COVID, though.
Oh, good to know.
So, Lenny, you serve on the Historic Marker Committee down at Hillsborough County.
Let's get the name, okay? So I'm honored to be appointed to the Hillsborough County Historic Advisory Council, and it's a big name that doesn't really tell you what it does. We are the people who approve the historic signs and markers throughout the county, and I love it. I love it. Unfortunately,
every month you have an interesting story about somebody coming in and telling their story and why they should have a historic marker.
As a documentarian, it's really interesting for me, and I sit with some wonderful people, Andy Hughes from USF Special Collections, Rodney Kite-Powell from Tampa Bay History Center, and representatives from throughout the county. And it's really interesting because I learn a little something more. And I always think, that'd be a great documentary, sitting there. But actually, I did tell you about our guests today, and I'm really thrilled to have them in the studio with us because their stories were so compelling, and they made a presentation for a marker, and I just learned stuff I never would have known about an area that we all know the name of but don't know a lot of history about. So I thought it'd be really fun to bring them in and have them tell everyone else what I learned.
We should have our callers call in and tell us, okay, so this is about Waimama, okay? And a lot of people have heard about Waimama. They don't necessarily know where it is, but it's such an unusual name in Hillsborough County, and it's located down in the southeast corner of the county near Balm and Sun City.
But the history is fascinating.
Absolutely, but we should have our callers. Well, let's not tell them where the name Waimama came from, and our callers can call in and tell us if they know.
And then at the end of the show, I think we should reveal it.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely reveal it if they don't get it. Somebody out there knows it. And don't Google it up. That's cheating. All right, Lenny, go ahead and introduce our guests.
I think you should.
Okay, well, we have Jackie and Shirley Brown, sisters, who grew up in Waimama and have a fascinating story to tell us. And your journey continues. So good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
So I think Jackie, I don't know if both of you were down there at the board that day, but Jackie, I know you were.
Yes.
And tell us why you were there and what's going on in Waimama.
Well, first, thank you for having us, and good morning to you all. Good morning, Waimama. We were excited to present 2 applications, actually.
That's right.
For preservation of both the historic Waimama Memorial Cemetery and also Uncle Doug's Place, which was in the early 20s and 30s. It was a source, it was a safe space for the African Americans in Waimama. It was both a store, it served as a dance hall, and that's such a tiny little building. And it also was a movie theater for the African American students or teenagers that lived in the area. the theater happened in the back of the building.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, a very old reels, a sheet.
A sheet that someone put up a sheet.
That
hanging over an oak tree
That was
branch,
like a
huh?
sheet because we could not attend. We could not go to any of the movie theaters.
Now, do either of you remember that specifically yourselves? Or?
I vaguely do. Because I attended a couple of times.
Are you the older sister?
I am the oldest sister.
okay.
You outed her.
Today,
You outed her.
the oldest today.
You don't look.
But both beautiful, and they look like twins.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say that. Thank you.
We have a caller real quick, probably going to tell us the origin of Why Mama. Let's go ahead and take Eileen from Tampa. Okay. Eileen, are you on?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Thanks
Good
for
morning.
calling in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Eileen Henderson. Jackie, I just want to say congrats. You've done a phenomenal job out there at Y Mama, so very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eileen.
Isn't that nice?
All right,
You're
Eileen.
very welcome.
Are you from Why Mama too, or?
No, Eileen Henderson, I'm with the Cemetery Society, so all of us cemetery people try to stick together and support each other, and I knew she'd be on the air today.
Oh, good. That's another show. You need to come in.
Fantastic.
I would love to come in. Are you kidding me? We've got a historical dedication July 19th, so with Memorial Park Cemetery, but we're here to celebrate Jackie and Y Mama. She's done phenomenal work out there, so we're very proud of her.
Yep, Lynn and I were just talking about your program on the 19th out at Blythe Andrews.
Yes.
On MLK at 10:30 in the morning.
Yep, we'll be there.
We will be there as well, so thank you for that. But Jackie, good luck to you. Shirley, you guys are doing great work. Just know you've got the community support.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much,
Appreciate it.
Eileen. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Isn't it funny how everything always leads into another show or another idea for a show? I just love that. There's so many interesting people out there doing good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. I'm sorry we interrupted you.
Gosh, please, no
Jackie.
no need to
That's
apologize.
us sitting around the coffee table and everybody interrupts everybody, right?
No need to apologize. However, to get back to your original question, which is not an easy answer because there's so many moving parts to that one question. We are here today because my sister Shirley was involved with the Allegheny Franciscan Ministries. In her group project, she chose the Y Mama Cemetery.
Well, thank you for that.
Take it from there. So upon attending Allegheny Franciscan Ministry, in turn, we all had a project to do in Y Mama. So I chose the cemetery as my project because I saw where it was going. It was going nowhere. But back up in the days, when I was a little able to, I always went out there and cleaned and put flowers around the family because our family is big. So I had to keep that, looking the way it's supposed to look.
Of course.
So when I couldn't do that anymore, and when Allegheny came with the opportunity to be in the organization to do work in the community and having that project to do, I chose the Y Mama Cemetery as my project. I'm like, this is a good idea. Now I can do what I used to do, to go in, beautify the cemetery, put grass, flowers down, or whatever. So I, in turn, told my sister, I'm like, look, we got a project to do with Allegheny. Let's go. No, well, actually, she said, well, let's go out in the cemetery and see what we can do to make your, ideas come. So when we, in turn, walked, and, oh, my God. So at that time, we was tumbling over graves that we did not see because they were sinking. So in that time, well, Jackie said, well, we're going to have to kind of deter from put your beautification right here for a minute. We got to find out who these individuals are in this cemetery that we had no idea that they was there.
So there were no records?
There are records, and Jackie can speak more on that. So once we found out that there was graves there was unmarked graves, there was graves that was sinking, then we had to go in another directions, to find out what we had to do. But I appreciate Allegheny Franciscan Ministry for the opportunity to be able to have an opportunity
Yeah.
to do something in the community.
Do something very special.
Yeah, your project, your community project has evolved into something so much bigger.
Yes, yes. And without Jackie, because when it came to involved in something bigger, I told her, look, I'm not doing this, because it's no way I can find out who these people are and, try to put everything where it's supposed to be. So Jackie, in turn, said, look, because I know this is a passion of hers, too. Every time we go out of town, we got to stop at a historic cemetery to see, whatever. And she said, don't worry. I got you. I will help you. And let me tell you, from that day on, she has been helping. She's been doing it. It was not for her. I don't think we would have gotten as far as we have gone with this project, because it's like, I don't have, no, I can't do it. She said, oh, you can do it. I'll work with you.
Nice.
And from there, she's been working with me.
How wonderful. And what did you find?
Wow. So when Shirley and I walked the cemetery,
And how many years ago was that?
this was last year.
It was like 22,
Just last year. You've done a
22,
lot.
23.
It was 23.
Yeah, 22, 23 is when we started.
When we started the work. It was actually March, April of last year. And obviously we had no idea what we were looking at. We had no idea what was there. And Lynn, I would tell you that as a child growing up in Waimama, we'd always been told that there were some graves out there. Nothing prepared us for the over 400 unmarked and forgotten graves. And so with some financial assistance from Tico Energy, we were able to do the first GPR. And that GPR revealed, I think it was 90 unmarked.
From the first GPR.
For people who don't know what GPR is, tell them.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's ground penetrating radar. And there's a whole science to it.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And the company that we partnered with was also the same company that was instrumental in locating those graves at King High School and everything. So we reached out to GeoView. I hope it's okay to say their name,
Yeah,
GeoView Incorporated. And fascinating. And the thing that struck me the most when the gentleman's name is Mike came out, the compassion.
Nice.
It was as if, and he wasn't phony, it was as if he had relatives out there. And so we talked, and they did the work, and we found these 90 plus.
So what are they looking for? Do they look for bones, or how does that work? Do you know?
No. So there are two types of burials. So the burials that Shirley was referencing are called depressed burials. Those are burials where people were interred in really old wooden coffins or wooden boxes, if you will.
And some just throw.
The others are called shroud.
Yes.
And those are the ones where you may or may not wrap them up in something.
And that's usually a
place
religious
them.
thing, isn't it? I know a lot of religions do that.
A lot of religions do that. However, in Waimama, we also learned that as the railroad was being built in the early 1900s, when people would pass away or when they would die as they were building, the workers would remove the bodies over to the side, basically, and would cover them. Because the railroad, there was a timeline, they had to build it.
Sure.
There was no benefit of a funeral. I don't know. I would like to think that someone prayed over them, their soul or something, but obviously we weren't there. I do not know. And so those are the two burials that are out there that are the ones that we were researching or investigating. Of course, there are other people that have been buried since then, and they also do not have headstones. But we were more so focused on the ones that were along the corridor that from the railroad that is now Tico Energy's property. We have some private property adjacent to the historic Waimama Memorial Cemetery that there were some graves there.
Wow.
Quite a few on people's property. There are
Do you think the people knew at the time?
They knew, but they did not know that it was as many.
I see.
We're talking maybe 3 or 4 burials. No. The home behind the cemetery has over 20.
Wow.
She has her own. We have no way of knowing who they are.
Any of the family members, have you been able to connect any of these
In addition
bodies?
to you and your family. Yeah.
So I had a opportunity to last year. Dr. Antoinette Jackson of the Black Cemetery Network hosted an event at the cemetery the library on Martin Luther King, and I went and I talked very briefly about Waimama. At the conclusion, there was a tour of the Memorial Park Cemetery. Before I can get over there, an African-American lady came, and she said, "Did I hear you say that you were from Waimama?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she began to tell me that her great-grandfather and her great-grandmother are interred in the Waimama Cemetery. She was almost 90. I believe she was 88, 89 years old. And she began to tell me that, regrettably, over time, they forgot where he is interred. And so I said, "Ma'am, what is his name?" And she told me his name, and I was like, I found his death certificate.
Wow.
He passed away in the early 30s. And so, of course, it was very emotional for both of us. This whole entire process has been very emotional for me, more so because I'm up late at night going through records, military records, burial records.
They're talking to you.
Marriage
She's
records.
going
They're talking to you. They're calling you.
Jackie,
She's doing it.
Let's talk about emotions, because one of the articles I read said that how emotional it was when you heard them drive that stake in the ground, the geotech folks, which actually meant that they found the first remains, right? And how did that feel when you saw that, when you heard that?
So the first GPR that was conducted, I was not there, but Shirley and others were giving me daily play-by-play, minute-by-minute.
What did it feel like?
It was emotional.
Yeah.
It really was, because most of the part that they did, it was like walking on grass. We had no idea, even there was graves there. I mean, it's just like you're walking every day on grass.
Right.
But when they did that, it was like, oh my God. My heart sunk. It really did. It brought me to tears.
And ultimately, your estimate is, I think, what, 400 or 500?
Over 400 and something. Yeah, there's so many. And I say that because we're finding records that are UK unknown. And so we're finding the earliest death certificate that I have been able to locate was 1910. And what is so heartbreaking is that it's that UK. You know, there's a person that is interred there. They may have a nickname, but everything else is unknown.
Typical railroad worker coming from somewhere else.
Some were working in when the sawmills came, the turpentine, steels, and also agriculture, working in the fields, picking oranges, all of that. But the majority of the folks worked in the sawmill industries that were there, and not to mention moonshining. So.
Which is why a lot of them don't have headstones.
Yeah.
You know, some of it, we found graves that individuals tried to write, you know, like get a...
Carve something in or something?
Carve something in, but you couldn't make it out at this point.
Sure.
Today,
You know,
so
speaking of agriculture, and I've got an agriculture background, at least as far as schooling is concerned.
Yeah, tell them that story. That's great.
Well, I've got 2 degrees in agriculture, so I wanted to be a veterinarian, and then I ended up going to law school.
Fascinating.
But anyway, you guys have a fascinating story. It's sort of a side story to this issue, but in terms of your background as children in a migrant family.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was, so we were migrants. We traveled to Pennsylvania and Delaware every year. We were
What
in
were you
Florida.
picking up there? What was that? That was
Everything.
summertime.
It was, well, no, we were there during school year as well.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so we in Pennsylvania, it
Apples.
was apples, peaches, and pears. Delaware, it was tomatoes and cucumbers. Mm-hmm. And the really exciting part about all of that is that my father was the crew leader. However, the people that my father worked for were really staunch educational people. And so the children could not be in the fields.
Good.
They could not stay on the camps, migrant camps. We had to go to school. And of course, as I
work.
got older, I pushed against that because I have all of these 1s and 2s, which was the equivalent of A's and B's. You had to go to summer school. It turned out to be a blessing in disguise because our field trips were to Washington, D.C.,
nice.
the nation's capital,
Nice.
and to the ocean for
to the
camps.
exposure,
And
right.
We had exposure. My headmaster at my school in Pennsylvania was a Quaker. I didn't know until later that the school that I went to was very special. And so it opened up another avenue for me as far as the community responsibilities that we have, the activism and all of that. And so, and plus growing up watching my mother be a community activist along with others in White Mama and the Ku Klux Klan and all of that took part in my upbringing.
That must
Well,
have
that's
been
what
scary.
that's what I was going to say. So you're leading two different lives as African Americans.
Yes.
You're up north part of the time where you've got a fair amount of freedom, I would assume, and
Well, we knew from that the things that were happening here in Florida were not the way it was
different.
supposed to have happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why we believe in getting community together, whether you were black, white, Hispanic, Jew, it doesn't matter. You know, these days you have to, in order to get anything done in your community, you got to bring everybody together. You can't just
Yes.
say, well, I'm going to do this for this because this is our race. We was brought up this way. No, I mean, times have changed. You know, you can't just focus on your race and your race only. Because when we was going up north, we worked with everybody. We wasn't segregated from working with, okay, your black people, y'all go over there and work. White people, y'all go. No. We all work together.
We worked together,
And
ate
that's-
together, slept together.
Yeah, and I think that's where we get a lot of our work habits from, because my father was a hard-working man. Jackie talking about going out north. I did a lot of work. She didn't have to do nothing. But I did the field
were
work.
the
I mean, I
oldest.
not picked cotton. I not picked tomatoes, peaches, everything you can name.
And that's
I
hard
have
work.
done it.
Yeah.
It's very hard work.
But when you got down here, do you remember the white-only water fountains or bathrooms
Yes.
and that
Yes,
sort of thing?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And there was also up
Yes.
north now. There was no color in this bathroom on a
Even
white
up
in this
north, even
bathroom.
up
Yeah,
north.
even up north. You
Certain
know,
places.
of course.
I didn't know
Not
that.
in
Of course.
Pennsylvania, not in Delaware. We didn't encounter that. We encountered that as we were driving or
yes,
on
right.
our way there, like Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina is where I remember that. But I was so little, but I remember and I knew what was happening because I wanted to ride on the bus with all the men and the women and hear
Oh,
the
sure.
stories and that was so fascinating. So I would say that my education began on a migrant farm worker bus.
Wow.
And on the camp. Yeah, that's where my education began. And I knew growing up that I had a responsibility to and I know everybody says this, but I have a responsibility to affect that positive change and really to leave this world better than I have grandkids. They're going to have kids one day. I want this world to be better.
Well, you guys have such a great attitude on life, even though you had experienced some of those negative things, and I think that's just wonderful.
You have to turn it around.
Sure.
Yeah,
For those of you who are just tuning in, we've got two fascinating guests here with us today on WMNF. down and dirty. Well, actually, 3 fascinating guests. my wife, Lynn Martin.
He's got to say that.
Lynn
going home
Martin
with me.
Dickfelder, a journalist and documentarian, and Jackie and Shirley Brown, who are grew up in Waimama and elsewhere, and they are here telling us about Waimama and specifically about the graves, kind of like Zion and now Memorial Park, where you have these lost African American grave sites, and down in Waimama. It's a big issue. It's an important issue, and they're working hard to do that. If you want to join the conversation, we're at 813-239-9663, and we welcome your calls. Lenny?
I find it so sad, first of all, that Waimama has been overlooked and kind of forgotten,
It has.
And so I'm so glad you're speaking up. But sadly, the stories you bring are so daunting, and really, you realize how this happened everywhere.
Yes.
And how African Americans have just been so slighted for so long. It really breaks my heart, But I'm glad you're bringing this to everyone's attention. And tell me, have you reached out to any of the other families? Were there any other people that came forward, or how many people joined your efforts?
So, thank you for asking that question. So once Shirley and I really started drilling down and doing this work, we realized that this is a community effort. And so in looking through and trying to find documentation, when was the cemetery, because we knew it was a burial ground, but when did the actual cemetery happen? We couldn't find anything. And so we realized that the cemetery was never officially named. It was a place of which bodies were laid or thrown. First thing we did was we got with residents of Waimama, and we created a committee, and it's called the Waimama Heritage Committee.
Nice.
It's 20 stakeholders, Waimama stakeholders, and we met faithfully. Some of them are the old residents, people that have been there, and yet people also that have just moving into Waimama. We were just reaching out to people, social media, whatever we can find, and we started having these conversations. And one of the things we knew we needed to do before we could do anything else was give that space a name. That is how we began to bring dignity to those that came before us, and also those who are going to come after us that will be interred there. And so we did a community-wide, named the Waimama Cemetery Committee. Cemetery. And it involved, as Shirley said, everybody that was in Waimama. So we were doing it online. We were knocking on doors, going in stores.
A real campaign, huh?
And it was hot.
And I would tell you that, and I have to give University of South Florida, Dr. Antoinette Jackson and the Black Cemetery Network kudos and props, because we have an intern, Alana, from USF that is working with us, and she is also part of the Black Cemetery Network. And most of this work, the advice and everything else, we also, we got from them. And we also work with FPAN, which is the Florida Public Archaeology Network.
Wow.
We've done so many workshops in Waimama, but I'm pleased to also say that as a result of all of this work that we've done, the next thing we decided was from the death certificates, when people died back then, that day, they were buried that day or the next day. And so we were like, they didn't have a funeral. They could not have had a funeral. It takes a long time to plan a funeral or anything like that. So the committee planned a celebration of life and a repast. We also involved the military.
You gave them a funeral.
We gave them all a funeral at one time.
Oh, beautiful.
And the military came and they presented the flag, the plan of TAPS was just, oh my God.
Because some of your death certificates included military folks,
A lot of military
African American military
that
folks.
have no markers.
Right, and it makes sense because World War One, you had the Spanish American War.
We have Spanish American War.
World
We
War
located
I.
him. We know that his name. He's out there. He was Native American and African American, and we now know where he is buried because there's a little stone with etched that we found in woods and bushes. Once we start clearing away, we found so many people. We found a little girl that has been lost for, and I know that cemetery people don't like to use the term lost. So she has been hidden for 90 years
90
in
years.
woods. And we were able to expose, if you will, her little marker. She was 6 years old.
Oh my God.
She would have been a contemporary of that lady you told us about a little bit ago.
She was six
Right?
years
The
old.
90-year-old lady.
Yes.
So, ladies, we have a caller, Irene from Tampa. Let's see if she knows the origin of the name Waimama or what else she has to say. Irene, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
All right.
Thank you for calling, Irene.
Okay. The origin, as I recall, there was a station master there, and he combined the names of his two daughters.
Close.
So-
Yep.
So that's what I know.
All right, tell us, Jackie.
So Captain C.H. Davis came to Waimama in 1902. And in 1903, he basically named Waimama after his three daughters. There's a lot of conversation as far as Wilma's name, because on a lot of the documents we found her name was Will. And so there was Wilma, Maud, and Mary. And ironically, Captain Davis was the person that brought the railroad through Waimama. And so he wasn't a station master. He actually was a business person. He became a huge farmer. He built a beautiful, historic Waimama Bridge in
So he stayed there.
1902. He did not live in Waimama.
Oh.
He lived in Manatee County
Okay.
on the river. I just found his home.
Wow.
Where he
Good
lived,
for you.
it's still there.
Wow.
And
So
everything. He needs a marker
For
now.
those of you who are wondering, because I don't think the tracks are still there, but he built.
Some of the tracks are still there.
What rail line was that?
Well,
Oh my God,
it
don't
had
ask me.
it had a couple of different names over the years.
Yes, it
but,
did.
But basically, he went from Durant, which is up there toward Plant City.
Yes.
And he went down to Bradenton, and I think that
Yes.
was about 40, 50 miles, something like that.
It put Waimama on the map.
And he picked Waimama because it was like halfway.
It was halfway.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Irene,
in the opportunity.
Irene, are you still there? No, we lost you. All right.
Thank you for calling and listening, Irene.
Thank you, Irene.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Irene.
And you
All
were
right.
real close.
And I've got Angelina. You probably know her from Waimama. No? Hold on. Let's see. Angelina, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Do you know these
Good
ladies?
morning, Angelina.
Yes, I do.
Yep. Well, you're blessed. Okay, go ahead. What's up?
They are doing beautiful, beautiful work. I am a Tampa native, downtown Tampa to be exact,
Yes, ma'am.
now living in Waimama. But I always like to know about the area that I'm living in. So I've heard about Jackie. I met Jackie. I can actually say, I think I'm safe to say we've become friends.
Absolutely.
Right. But what I'm calling about today, I would like for Jackie to tell the listeners of any committees that they're liking need a volunteer.
That's a great idea.
Absolutely, Angelina. We appreciate your call, and we know
Thanks for listening.
you're going to be involved, and you and Jackie and Shirley. Yes, ma'am, Jackie.
So, thank you, Angelina. So we are doing good gosh. So there's, as I mentioned previously, there's so many moving parts here, and so there are some opportunities to do some additional works in the Waimama historic Waimama Memorial Cemetery. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is a ribbon cutting. We're looking at some grants to preserve and protect the cemetery.
Yes.
We have cows running through the cemetery, and we have some things that I won't mention that are happening at night in the cemetery. We have to preserve.
So you need some
that.
fencing or some way
We
to guard
need
it.
immediately.
So
Fencing.
going to those grants issue, I think we should give a shout out to Representative Fendrick Driscoll, who's up there in Tallahassee, but she's from here in Tampa. But Fendrick, I think,
Fentress, yes.
I'm sorry, Fentress. But she did what? She passed a bill. She authored a bill about African American cemeteries all across the state, and they put aside $1 million.
Yes.
She's a powerhouse. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some people talking about her running for governor, but anyway,
Yes.
that's an aside. But
so
how you fit in with
so
them?
we're looking at everything, and so we did have a conversation. We had an opportunity there. However, our cemetery did not qualify because we are still an active cemetery.
What does that mean?
That means that we're still burying people there. So once we removed all the trees and everything, that freed up a lot of space for future burials. We had to do a second GPR in that second part as well, because once we start removing trees and everything, there were interments there. And so our cemetery is still active. However, the adjacent properties that I mentioned, they qualify for that. And so those are going to be some conversations that we're going to have with those landowners.
How large a space are we talking about in
Over
terms of the property?
over 5 acres, actually.
Wow, that's a big cleanup, lady. You were thinking about doing that?
Yes.
What were you thinking?
We did clean up with Hillsborough Community College
Passion.
and community stakeholders. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
So if people want to get in touch with you or want to help, or if you have committees out there that you need extra hands.
Or maybe funding.
Yeah,
Yes.
certainly.
So I have on social media, I'm on social media. The Waimama Cemetery Project is on Facebook. And also Discover Waimama. I have a nonprofit, a startup nonprofit that is called Discover Waimama Tours and More, because the stories of Waimama have to be told, and what better way to tell those than to take people actually to those spaces and tell exactly what took place there. We have the sawmill, one of the sawmills at Willow, where the Waimama Train Museum is housed right now. There are ruins there from the sawmill and in the turpentine still.
We need a lot of markers.
Yes, we found out that was an encampment, and we have a written record of someone that was related to the owner of the sawmill.
Wow.
God, I'll tell you, it's so many moving parts.
It's like a rabbit hole, right?
Yes,
One thing
and
leads
she
to another.
wrote a written record, and upon her passing, her family donated her writings to the Waimama, the Florida Train Museum at Waimama, who called me
Wonderful.
and allowed me access to those records, and I was able to make a copy of it. And guess what? There is a rendering, a drawing of the layout of the entire thing where the African Americans lived.
Wow.
That they had a church. There is a burial ground there. We have no idea where that is because it's all overgrown. 75 houses. They were called houses, but they were really little clapboard
Little shanties.
on bricks. We have the entire layout.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
so I'm doing some work with the Florida Railroad Museum to bring a tour, hopefully there, to talk about what took place there.
You need your own museum.
I would love to, but in Waimama, we are so, we have no infrastructure. We have no infrastructure. And so, yes, there are so many needs, but...
So
put it?
as related to infrastructure, when I was reading up on Waimama yesterday, Waimama was an incorporated city. It was the fourth incorporated city in Hillsborough
at
County,
that.
Yes.
behind
In the 20s,
Plant
yes.
City, the city of Tampa, Temple Terrace, and then Waimama. And
When was this? When?
it was back in the 20s.
It was in the 20s.
And it lasted for about 10 years. Then the the Depression came along, and nobody probably could pay their taxes, which was very typical.
There was a bank there, a jail,
Really?
post office. Captain
Is
Davis
this on the
post
map
office.
that you have, or is that?
it's not
it
on
is
the
on
map.
one of the maps. The map that I'm referencing, that I just referenced, was of the Willow. Willow at that time was Manatee County. It is now Hillsborough County.
Wow.
Long
It was
time ago.
absorbed,
Yes, and so we have all of those really fascinating records. A lot of the death certificates that I'm finding are reference to people that lived at the sawmill. They died in the sawmill. I have little kids that died in the
Oh, my
sawmill.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
Yes.
And the turpentine, for
Yes.
those of you who are listening, that was also sort of dangerous.
It was.
But for those of you listening, if you come from like Vermont or something and you tap into a maple tree in Vermont,
Yes.
that's how you get the maple syrup.
Yes.
Down here, you tap into a pine tree.
Yes.
You get the
And it
turpentine.
drips out and you get the
Into a
turpentine.
bucket.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting. We've got probably our last call for this show is Nikki from Largo. Let's see what Nikki has to say. She has an idea. Nikki, you're on.
Hi. I've never been to Waimama, and I didn't know anything about the history of it, so I feel educated now.
Great.
But I know that y'all said there were cattle tromping through, the cemetery.
Yes.
Which is not a good thing.
It is not.
I have some experience with livestock, and if it were mine, I think I would consider the cheapest way to go for now to keep the cattle out is to put up an electric fence. It won't hurt them, but it'll let them know you can't cross here. And they're battery operated, so they're really inexpensive to put up. And that's how I would go to keep them from pooping all over the cemetery.
Yeah, I think that's a great
And
idea.
they don't hurt the animals?
No, not at all. It's just they touch it once and they know not to go
They'll
back.
run from it.
Well,
Basically.
thank you so very much for that suggestion. We are challenged with that, however, because we have so many kids that live on the adjoining street behind the cemetery. They ride their bicycles, they run and play, and I just shudder to think that of a kid touching that.
Well, I don't think it hurt the kids because my dad used to have it for our German Shepherd.
Oh my God!
And every now and then we would bump up against it, and we'd go, "Ouch!" But it didn't. It didn't hurt us. It
Different
didn't hurt
times
us.
right now.
All right, let's take Mike from Sarasota, and these are great calls and a lot of fun. Mike from Sarasota.
Good morning. I want to thank your guests for doing wonderful work.
Absolutely.
I'm involved with
Thank you,
cemetery
Mike.
restoration up in Jackson County myself with my family. But I got a tip the other day from somebody. Here's some more unsolicited advice. I'm sorry. I was talking to somebody the other day about my cemetery project, and he gave me a good tip for keeping it. Preserving it for the future. Apparently, out of University of Florida and various other places, the people in Florida are doing something called 3D laser.
Ooh.
And that's where they go in and they put a laser in there and they pretty much map the whole cemetery. And you get this virtual reality representation of the whole thing, which would be a good way to preserve it for the future. Let's say a big hurricane comes in, in 10, 15 years and wipes everything out. You can still have a map of what was there, right? And so, I'm guessing since y'all are doing pretty much you might have access to funds or maybe even discount rates from people like the University of Florida or some of these historical societies to help fund that. But I think that's a good way because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Fires, development, hurricanes, what have you.
Have you heard of that, Jackie?
Mike, we appreciate
Thank you,
appreciate
Mike.
Great
that.
idea. Thanks, Mike, and thanks for listening.
Thank you so very much. So actually, I have made 2 emails, phone calls to University of Florida, and I am still waiting to receive some information back from last year. However, I will reach out again. What has been really disappointing for us is because we reach out to folks that have the expertise. We have no expertise, and we don't receive any feedback or any support.
I'm sorry.
Now, I will say this. We know that the issue of the cemeteries, African American forgotten, unmarked cemeteries, are a huge issue, and everyone is busy, and everyone really is working really hard to bring some sort of knowledge to who is there. I met some people that were affiliated with Rosewood from the Rosewood Massacre. And when the African Americans had to flee, by the way, we have one person in the Waimama Cemetery that was from Rosewood.
No joke. Wow.
Yes. I don't know how he ended up in Waimama, but he did. And so there's so many people that are working on all of these issues. In Waimama, our road that leads into the cemetery, there are graves under it. Oh, we need so much support.
Yes.
All right, ladies. So
all right, we'll keep at this now. We'll keep bringing you back. And
you are getting more phone calls than this show has ever gotten. We've got Pastor Cooks.
See, people care.
Yep.
People care.
Hey, Pastor Cook.
Hold on. We got Pastor Cooks. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to say I want to thank these two ladies for taking up the reins of this project, because as a new pastor, I'm not familiar with the history. And as I told Jackie before, she's my historian. I'm just the cover of the book. So, but the two ladies have done such a fabulous job. You can never outdo passion. And when people have a passion to do something, they'll go far and beyond what others would do just to get information. But they have done such a wonderful job in actually in helping me. It's helped me to grow as well as from what they've done. So I just want to thank both of them for the work that they've done and are going to do.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Cook. We still have a long way to go.
It's been a pleasure and a joy working with you in the First Prospect Missionary Baptist Church and the Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church, both historic. The First Prospect Missionary Baptist Church was very historic. Captain Davis donated land for the church
Wonderful.
to have been built. It's very historic.
Same location, so everything's
same
still
location, different folio number. So we're going to do a historic marker application.
Pastor, thank you so much for calling. We're going to take a few more calls. They're coming in fast and furious from all over the Bay Area. This one's Dunedin. We've got Brooksville, Riverview. Everybody's interested in this topic. Tammy from Dunedin.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Good morning.
Morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
Real quick, we got running out of time.
Okay. I would suggest for a barrier to look at native plants because it's more symbolic than an electric fence. So there are some very good native trees that actually, I went to Selby Gardens, and the tour guide there said that they used to use that for fencing, barriers, native trees. So just thought maybe, some that would be like a bougainvillea with the big, long, thorns.
Oh, yeah, no one's going to want to get by that.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Exactly, but then they're native and they attract
And they're pretty.
wildlife,
Right.
and they're pretty, and it's better symbol of a resting place
Thank you.
than an electric fence.
Yes.
So thank you for taking my call.
Oh, and thank you for listening. We
Great
appreciate
idea.
your input.
Great idea. All right, let's take one all the way up from Brooksville. We've got Samantha.
Samantha, no last name.
Samantha. Hi, Samantha.
Samantha,
You're
no
on the
last
air.
name. You're on the air, Samantha. What's up? Samantha?
Oh.
I lost her.
Call
All right.
back, please.
Call back, Samantha. Sorry we lost you. We'll go with Gil in Temple Terrace, the second or third city in Hillsborough County.
Hey, Gil.
Gil, you're on.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Gil.
Good morning, Gil.
Oh, hats off to Shirley and Jackie and the entire Waimama group that's come together to work with this towards this project. That
Here.
it's uncovered. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
you're
we
on.
hear you.
Yeah. So it's uncovered so much history, not just about this site, but it's also beginning to speak to the history of Waimama as a whole.
Absolutely.
And the redevelopment that's going on in Waimama.
Oh, it's crazy.
You know, somehow, somewhere, developers and county need to come together and make sure that there's policies in place to invest into things like a museum.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea.
And other cultural activities that can happen to celebrate Waimama's history. With that, I am so happy to hear about this work. Rock on. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
Right on. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening.
So, the one thing good that I'm sure you ladies are aware of is there is a state law now that I believe is hopefully enforceable and enforced that says that once graves are discovered, white, black, whatever, doesn't matter, that no construction or development should be or would be done on top of that. Are you familiar with that?
So from what I understand, that I went to a conference recently, cemetery conference. People are going to think I'm so morbid.
I know. Woo, you know how to have a good time.
I love it. I love it.
He said rock on, party on.
And so from what I understand, one of the things that I took away is that a landowner, and I don't know all of the policies and procedures, but basically a landowner has a legal right, and I could be wrong, to exhume and relocate a grave if they so desire.
Right.
And so obviously one of the things and what was so vital for us is to get that recognition for the cemetery because development is encroaching. And we've had one of the developers come to the cemetery. It's like, this is pretty much our stuff here.
But you not only have a name, but now with the GPR, you've got those specific 89 grave sites identified on a map.
That's 100. So it's 137 on the map, but over 400 that we now have the death certificates and everything. And while I'm on that subject, we're getting all of this information. It's not my information to have.
Right.
It has to be shared, digitized, something. And so hopefully the Hillsborough County Library System
or USF, I would think,
right? USF will support and support our efforts here in digitizing. We make books. We're making these books that we're going to donate to the Hillsborough County Library because again, it is not our story to keep. We want to educate everybody in reference to not just our cemetery, but all cemeteries.
And we want to help you.
Thank you so much. We have Native Americans in our cemetery.
And as we wrap up, really Jackie, remind us one more time how folks can get in touch with you and the organization.
I'm going to share my phone number.
That's your call.
I want to share my phone number. It is 813 area code 541-1202. That's 813-541-1202. In social media, it is the Waimama Cemetery Project. It's one page, and the other page is Discover Waimama, and my nonprofit is called Discover Waimama Tours and More. And you can reach me on either the social media or my phone until I get my website up. We will be doing tours really soon. It's too hot right now.
Get someone to help you and volunteer doing that website work, I'm hoping that people out there not only hear the stories and the hard work of Shirley and Jackie and all the volunteer hours they've put into this, but I hope that maybe some of you will help and do something to maybe you're a professional and you own nurseries, or maybe maybe you work with the USF or something,
or maybe you write a check.
Yeah, just
that would work even better.
This is a wonderful endeavor, and it's been overlooked for far too long, and we really applaud your hard work.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Will you come back and give us your progress?
Absolutely.
We'll be so honored to come back.
No, what you're doing is just Fantastic.
And please, you
God bless
both come and visit us.
Oh, for
We'd
sure.
love
Are you
to
kidding?
show you Waimama.
Totally.
Oh, I love it.
Yes,
Totally.
okay.
I was
Thank
down
you.
there years ago with Phyllis Bizansky, our county commissioner.
Wow, I love Phyllis.
Many,
I know Phyllis.
many years
Yes.
ago, and we were working on a Ruskin migrant worker project. But
Thank you,
anyway, that's another
Waimama.
story.
Thank you, Waimama,
Thank you,
for
ladies.
your support. We couldn't do it without you.
Jackie and Shirley Brown, Lynn Marvin Dingfelder, thank you so much
John
for joining.
Dingfelder,
John
Down and
John
Dirty.
Dingfelder, Down and Dirty, WMNF.org. And
Thank you all for having us. We really appreciate it.
yeah,
been our
Skip,
pleasure.
Skip and Irene, thank you for your help.
WMNF.
Thank you,
Tampa.
callers. Bye-bye. Woo, that was fun.